now. Okay, so this evening, we are extremely pleased to have Mr. Melvin Tan here as our speaker today. So Melvin is a very seasoned trainer in the field. He has trained more than 139 professionals in the effective use of AI since July 2023, and he is currently leading the charge at Affinity AI, focusing on empowering teams and implementing AI solutions for businesses. So his aim is to help marketers navigate the AI landscape strategically. So we're very excited to have him here today to share with us about crafting messages that resonate effectively using ChatGPT. So without further ado, I'd like to hand the time over to Melvin, please. So over to you.
Right, thank you, Jeremy. Pleasure to be here, and definitely it is an honor to be here to share with all of you, with regards to AI and ChatGPT itself. So without further ado, let's dive into it. And like what Jeremy said, at any point in time, if you have got questions, feel free to type it into the chat. We will see to that we can address as many questions as possible, right? And so with that, let's get started. So just to give you a quick intro, this workshop that you can expect here today is that first and foremost, just so that all of us are on the same page, I just want to make sure that we have a good idea of ChatGPT. What is it about, and all that, right? And then I'm going to the two key determinants of ChatGPT output. In other words, what are the things that you need to take note of when you are, keying in the output, keying in the prompts, as well as looking at the training data when using ChatGPT itself, right? And then we're going to dive into three simple ways for you to refine your prompts. And so this is something that I do a lot in terms of ensuring that everything is, it's good. And after that, we are going to talk about applying AI to writing frameworks, right? So how do we use certain frameworks, right, to kind of get AI to craft the messages that we want, right? And then, we are also going to move on to navigating biases. So, for example, how do you know that the output that ChatGPT gives you, is it accurate, or is it aligned to our culture, our norms, for example, right? So what are the things that you can do to spot that? Okay. And finally, of course, I hope to have time for us to do a little bit of Q&A. And also along the way, I have a little surprise for all of you. So make sure you stay till the end itself, because you're gonna like this surprise. Okay, so first and foremost, I will be typing into the chat the website that you will go to access ChatGPT. So if you haven't already, please sign up for an account. It is totally free, and there are many things that you could do with that. All right, so with that, let's get ahead. Now, before we go into ChatGPT itself, it is important to kind of understand what exactly is AI. So in a very simple way, AI simply means that it's a computer system or an algorithm designed to perform tasks. So as an example, if you think about, your WhatsApp autocorrect, for instance, right? That is in itself a form of AI, right? So when you're typing certain things, you kind of autocorrect, and like in this case here, best of luck becomes beast of luck, okay? And sometimes you get into an embarrassing moment like this. Nonetheless, these are AI that has already been around for a while, and I think many of us are familiar with. So the question is, between AI and generative AI, what exactly is the difference here? So when we think about generative AI is actually a subset, right, of all the AI models itself. And one of the key things about generative AI is that it's able to generate new content. In other words, you're able to key in certain things into the ChatGPT or any of this AI tool itself, and it's going to be able to give you some type of output, right? And that's the most fascinating part of this whole tool itself, this machine itself, right? Okay, so like I mentioned, if you haven't already, please go ahead and sign up for an OpenAI account using ChatGPT. Now, what you see here on the screen, it will be slightly different from what you have, and that's primarily because I'm using the paid version, right? But just so that you know, the paid version has got some additional features. However, the thing is that the free version, it's really already very, very good. Okay, so for those of you who already have a ChatGPT account, just type in yes for me. All right. Thank you very much. Just type in yes in the chat for me. Thank you. Now, so one of the things in terms of ChatGPT, right? And when you talked about generative AI, what is it that it can do? So, as an example here, if you look at this, what happened is I have an email that I want to draft, and I want to draft to Jijo, and I want to tell him that I really, really enjoy the app that he has created, which is called Voice Notes, right? And so all I need to do is go into my Gmail, and all I need to do is just click that, and Gmail itself, the AI would be able to help me write an email like this. And so this is what's so amazing about generative AI. But of course, are there some issues or some concern that you need to take note? Of course there is, and that's where we will get into later on, right? So uh, at a very basic level, ChatGPT or any of this AI tool it's able to kind of generate some of this content for you, right? But if you have a little bit more specialized knowledge, for example, which I will share with you later on, if you have a little bit more specialized knowledge, what you can actually do is that you could actually write a very simple program. And when I say simple, trust me, it is really, really simple. Okay, you can write a very simple program, something like this, right? And you could get it to generate a series of headlines for you, right? And so all you need to do is just to key in some inputs, and from there you are able to get a range of headlines being generated for you. What you're seeing here is a recording. It's not real time, but whatever the time taken to generate this three headlines and the strength of this three headlines, that's really in real time itself. Okay, so what you've seen so far is that it can do something as simple as like drop me an email, and you'll be able to do that, right? But it can also do something amazing if you apply a little bit of programming skill, and you would be able to craft beautiful, amazing headlines like this, right? I mean, if you were to do this on your own, how long would it take, right? Okay, so now, one of the key things that I think a lot of people have been talking about is that, this whole thing about AI powered automation. Now, I just want to have a quick chat from some of you here. What are you concerned about? The fact that AI might replace some of the work that you do, right? If you are concerned about that, could you type in me into the chat? Okay. Now, personally, my background is I have about 15 years in strategy consulting, and in fact, I will tell you for a fact that many people that I know, including lawyers, for example, some of them are concerned about AI, right? And the reason why they're concerned about AI is because for the longest time, we haven't seen a tool that is able to perform at a cognitive level of a knowledge worker. So think about this: people who have been who have been writing content, for example, suddenly they may find themselves out of job, right? Suddenly they may find themselves, being threatened, being compared to an AI tool. And truth be told, I think many of the activities that we are doing right now, in terms of the work that we do, many of these activities can and could probably be replaced by AI. However, there is one type of work that will never be replaced by AI, and that is work involving relationships, right? So, for example, if you are a teacher, right? For example, if you are someone who is a coach, for instance, I do not want to be coached by AI, right? And so, in as much as AI can do the work for us, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that some of the things we human are far better than AI itself. In fact, there is a joke that I always tell, many of my friends say that, people have been saying that AI is going to take away our job. And I'm still waiting for the AI to materialize, the one that is able to wash my dishes, dry my dishes, take my clothes, wash it, dry it, and then fold it and keep it in the cupboard. I mean, I'm still waiting for that AI to happen, right? So the truth of the matter is that yes, AI will take away some of the work itself, and so the way for us going forward is that we really have to get ourselves AI ready. And so, what do we mean by AI ready? That's what we're going to get into. All right. So when we talk about AI ready, one of the way to think about it, it's AI productivity. Okay, and so when we talk about AI productivity, there are a few ways to think about this, right? By the way, for those of you who just joined us, please try and stay till the end because I have a little surprise for you, and trust me, you will like that surprise. All right, you will like that surprise. Okay, so when we talk about AI productivity, there are actually four keywords that I'd like you to remember. So the first keyword is actually workflow, right? Workflow is just basically a fanciful way of saying getting things done, right? So how do you get certain things done? For example, if you need to write an article, what is the process that you take to go from an idea to a complete article, right? If you need to write a proposal, how do you go from speaking with the customer or the prospect and then putting all that things down, all the scope of work down into a final proposal itself? That is the workflow. So that's one of the things that's one of the keywords that I like you to take note of. All right. The next keyword that I like you to take note of is streamline. I know this sounds a little bit like consultant parlance, but trust me, when we talk about streamlining, basically we're saying that, hey, if previously I was doing this work in 5 steps, can I now do it in 3 steps, for example, right? And so that's what we want to see here. And of course, the other word that I like you to pay attention to is integrate. Now, what is integrate? Integrate meaning that in the past you probably have to first come up with an idea, right? And then you take that idea and you write it down in point form. And then from point form itself, then you expand it into a full-length article, right? And so now, are you able to use AI in one of this part of the processes, right? So for example, you could use AI to brainstorm ideas, or perhaps you come up with the ideas and then you get AI to come up with the point form, and then you kind of expand it out, right? So how are you going to use AI to help you in this workflow itself? That's something that you would want to think about. Okay. And finally, of course, at some point in time, and this is probably at the slightly more advanced level, at some point in time, you want to think of how you can use AI to kind of complete certain tasks for you. Okay, how can you use AI to complete some of the tasks for you? So as an example, recently I just wrote an app for one of my clients, and they used to have to take 2 hours to pull information from different sources to come up with the first draft of the proposal in 2 hours, right? But now with this AI tool itself, the AI would be able to pull all this information from different sources on its own and is able to generate the proposal for them in 1 minute 30 seconds. Yes, you heard that right. 1 minute 30 seconds. Okay, so imagine the guy who used to have to take 2 hours, now at a push of a button, 1 minute 30 seconds, he has a first draft. And I like to emphasize that it is a draft because we human, or you and I, are going to be the one who is going to preside over this piece of work that AI has done, and we are going to determine whether it is any good or not. Okay, Right. So at this point in time, if you got questions, please feel free to ask, put it in the chat, right? Or if you got any comments, please feel free to put it in the chat itself. So if I were to ask you, when it comes to integrating AI, what is one way that currently you have been using AI in your course of work, right? Could you type it in the chat for me? What is one way that you have been using AI in the process of your work itself? Okay, so maybe you could share that with me. Now, as you are sharing that with me, I'd like to share with you what are some amazing things that we have done with AI itself for our clients. Okay, so one of them is, of course, looking at organizational efficiency. So what exactly is organizational efficiency itself? So what you see here is that, we have taken, we've gone on to a SingStat website, Singapore Statistics website. And what we've done is that, we've taken tables and data from the website. And instead of us having to read and go through the data ourselves, right? Now, what we can do is that we can actually get ChatGPT to do the work for us. So if you can see the prompt here, it says that, can you read this data and then construct a graph to make it easy for someone who is not statistically trained to be able to understand the data, right? So we're asking it to, read the statistics and then, draw us a graph. And lo and behold, this is what ChatGPT is able to come up with, right? And of course, over here, I won't be giving you a demo like this, but the point of the fact here is that in the past, or if you were to do this on your own, right? How long would it take you? But now, at a flick of a switch, literally, right, you can get ChatGPT to draw this graph for you. Of course, can you take this and run and give it to your bosses? I would suggest not. I would always suggest that you validate and you look at a chart before you send it off itself. So one thing that you can definitely do is that in the past you may have to deal with lots of data, right? Lots of data, lots of numbers, and you probably spend a lot of time looking through it. Probably have like 5 or 6, windows open and comparing stuff like this. Not sure how many of you do that at work sometimes. If you do, can you just type in "me too," right? I do that sometimes, right? I open up all the different windows itself. But now, just uploading the CSV file to to ChatGPT, and you can get this done now, right? Yeah, absolutely, David. So yeah, you're one of us, right? Okay, so the other thing is effective communication. So what do we mean by effective communication? Now, many a times, especially when it comes to numbers, right? Some of you might be good with numbers, but some of us might, we might have a little adversary feeling towards numbers itself. So, as an example here, right? You can take a YouTube video, right? Something like this. So this is a quarterly results briefing. And what you could do is, you could tell people, well, just go to my, YouTube channel and watch the briefing, right? You could do that. And mind you, if you look at the time on this video itself, it's 1 hour and 14 minutes. I mean, that's a long time to take to sit through this whole thing itself. But now you no longer have to sit through that, because you could actually ask ChatGPT to look at this video, right? To read this video itself, okay? And then use it to create something that you can communicate effectively. And what's one way to communicate effectively? Well, in a sense, you're able to get it to pull out all this information, right? All this information itself. But wait for this, right? More than just getting it to give you all this information, you can in fact ask it to draw you an infographic, right? An infographic. Now, I do not know how many of you here are designers, or you have the capability of building something like this, right? But for the rest of us, I think many of us struggle to build something like this. Now, of course, this infographic that you see here, like I say, it's not ready to be published yet, but this is a mock-up, and with some tools like Canva, if you're familiar with Canva, Canva, with Canva itself, all you need to do is one click and you will be able to, transport it to Canva's website, and then you can do the edits from there, right? I mean, these days you can really just do that, in your home and with just your computer or probably even your phone itself, right? And that's truly amazing. Yeah, I mean, Barbara, you're like going, wow, right? I mean, yes, it's truly amazing. And Sarah, yeah, absolutely, this is amazing. Okay. Now, so here is where, we want to get into the detail of it, right? So when you think about ChatGPT, or when you think about, getting AI to do the work, the two key determinants that you have to pay attention to are as follows, right? So first thing first, ChatGPT or any form of AI is what I call a garbage in, garbage out process. What I mean by that is that the better quality prompts that you put in, you get better quality output. Okay, so if you put in good prompts, right, you get good output. If you put in very vague prompts, then of course you will get very vague output. All right, very generic output. And sometimes you will see those output and you go like, meh, I could do that myself, right? So how do you get ChatGPT or any of this AI tool, whether it's Copilot or Gemini, right, to give you that level of output? And this is what I want to share with you here today, right? How do you get ChatGPT to give you that kind of output itself? Now, before we go into the other part here, there is also the other component that I would like to very quickly share with you, and this is training data. Now, training data, what it means in a very simple way is that ChatGPT, when you're using it, it has already been trained with certain data itself, right? And the data for GPT-4, it's April 2023. For GPT 3.5, if I'm not mistaken, it's still November 2022, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, these things keep updating. So what I was more focused on was ChatGPT 4. Now, so what that means is that if you're going to ask ChatGPT 4, right, anything that happens after April 2023, it would not be able to give you that answer. Okay, so if you can right now on your own, I'd like you to type this in, and you type in, give me the share price of Starbucks. Who here loves Starbucks? For the last 6 months, right? If you type that into, okay, Barbara, you like Starbucks too. If you type that into ChatGPT, whether it's 3.5 or 4, it would not be able to give you that answer itself, right? And so the reason why it's not able to give you that answer is because in the training data, it doesn't contain that information. And that's why, even how good your prompts are, if it's not in the training data, you can't get it out of ChatGPT. So friends, I'd like you to, be very familiar with this because, there are two parts to it. One is the input that you put in, but the other, it's also, the data that it has been trained with. Okay. So now that we've talked about prompts, right? I want to show you this spectrum of prompts itself. So I have this saying, right? You go from generic prompt to specific prompt. And then when it comes to output, you have what I call the very basic output to very advanced output. And so for most of us, I think where we start off is here, right? We type in that, give me ideas for a birthday party for a 7-year-old boy, and it gives us some idea and we get, ooh, we get so excited, okay? And then what's going to happen is that over time, we're going to say that, hey, these ideas are not really that good, right? So that's where you want to go into slightly more specific prompt. So what very quickly today in this session itself, what I want to do is I want to get you here, right? To be able to give it specific prompts so that you can get slightly, better output itself. Now, what you do not want to end up is you do not want to end up here. Okay, you do not want to end up here because you don't want to spend so much time typing in all these complicated prompts and then all you get is just generic output. I mean, that would be a bummer, right? Okay. And for many of my clients, what they really want to do is they really want to get their team here. In other words, they don't want to have all these people trained in prompt engineering. What they really want is that, these people understand how to use AI, and they're able to get the kind of fantastic output. Okay, and so that's where you probably want to get to as well, and that's why you should stay till the end of this webinar, because I'm going to share with you a tool that you can use, right, to do this. So if you are interested in that tool, and I'm going to tell you the good news here is that that tool is absolutely free for you to use. You just have to put in your own API key. Now, what does that mean? I will talk about that later on, and when we get to that. Okay. Now, so what you want to do is you want to get here, and if you can, you should get yourself here, because you don't want to spend all the time prompting. And if you have been using ChatGPT, you know that after a while, there's a lot of back and forth. Okay. So let's go with prompts. And when it comes with prompts itself, there are a few things that I'd like you to take note. There's what we call generic prompts, and that's what we call specific prompt. Now, what you want to do is you want to turn a generic prompt into a specific prompt. And how do you do that? Well, there are altogether 7 modifiers, but for this webinar itself, I'm going to share with you 3 due to the lack of time, right? And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to, try it out yourself as well. Okay, so there are 3 modifiers that you can use, and I call it the 3 Ps, right? So the first modifier is price. So for example, let's say you are talking about, give me ideas for keeping fit, right? Keeping fit for someone who is over 50 years old, right? Okay, so let's say you say, give me ideas for someone for keeping fit for someone who is over 50 years old. Well, you get a bunch of ideas, and some of them might be pretty good. But then if you look at it, you might like, some of these sports a bit expensive, So what you want to do is you want to modify it with the price. So it could be giving ideas for keeping fit for someone who is over 50 on a budget, for example, right? And the other one you want to do is perhaps you want to think of problems. So people like me over 50, sometimes we have got problems, right? We wake up and we're like, oh, here pain, there pain. In fact, I just sort of recovered for a back ache itself, right? A back injury itself, right? So perhaps it's giving ideas for keeping fit for someone who has, a back problem, or someone who has got knee pain in the knee, for example. So it could be problem, right? And of course, the next one that you could do is you could look at, what about profession? Perhaps someone who is over 50 and that person has been a teacher for the past few decades of his life itself, right? So for someone who is a teacher, maybe what they want to do, instead of doing things that are around other people, perhaps they want to do something else, right? I don't know, right? Any teachers here? So those are the 3 modifiers that you can think of. So to give you a concrete example, right? And this is something that you can try out on your own right now. Okay, so if you can pull out ChatGPT on your browser, right? And you can type in this base prompt. Okay, so you can tell ChatGPT, I want you to be a highly experienced copywriter in B2B marketing. Okay, I want you to be a highly experienced marketer in B2B marketing. Now, so once you do that, right? Once you do that, essentially what you're saying to ChatGPT is the following. You say that, hey, you are that super guy who is really, really good at writing copy. Okay. Now, next is that you say that, okay, let's provide me with 3 compelling and persuasive ideas for a LinkedIn post for customized AI solutions. Okay, you can try that out on your own on ChatGPT itself. Okay, and when you put this prompt in, you probably get some pretty good results. Okay, but what you may want to do here is that you may want to change it a bit. So, for example, another way of changing the modifiers is that instead of price, you could use industry, right? So provide me with 3 compelling and persuasive idea for a LinkedIn post for customized AI solutions for companies in FMCG, right? Fast-moving consumer goods, right? Or healthcare industry, for example. Okay, then you're going to get very different results, right? You're going to get very different results. Or you could be focusing on a particular problem, right? A B2B marketer who is experiencing this overwhelming amount of AI tools options there are in the market, right? I mean, you have ChatGPT, you have Copilot, you have Gemini, and whatnot. You have so many of them, right? So which one should you pick and which one should you choose? They all seem to be good in one way or another, but is there one that you should pick? So perhaps, persuasive, compelling ideas for a LinkedIn post for someone who is facing that problem. Okay. Now, the other one could be, you want to target a specific group of people, right? People who are IT procurement officers, right? IT procurement officers. So people who are IT procurement officers, they could be looking up for different things as opposed to someone who is a marketer or someone who is a writer, right? So of course, here in this last example, you can take more than one modifier. You can take, profession as well as industry, and that's where you get more specific prompts here. All right, more specific prompts here. Now, let me know if you through this sharing itself up until now, are you learning something good that you could immediately apply? What is the one thing that you would do in terms of using this modifier? How would you use this in the modifier? Maybe you could share with us in the chat below. All right, okay. Okay, thank you, Laikin. Yes, that's awesome. Now, so when it comes to output from chat completion, right? The output that you get from ChatGPT itself. Sometimes what you really want to take note is that you want to ask yourself, is this very basic output, or do you want to go into something a bit more advanced? Right, and here is where I want to share with you some very, very simple technique that you can apply immediately, right? And you will be able to get more advanced output, right? You'll be able to get more advanced output. So what do we mean by this, right? What do we mean by this? So some examples here is that, for instance, you can use ChatGPT to write content. Okay, you can get ChatGPT to write content. But the question that you should ask yourself is not whether can ChatGPT write content, but is the content that ChatGPT write any good, right? Is it good? Okay, so as an example, if you are someone who is an expert in copywriting, right, and you see an output from ChatGPT, you may be like, I can do better than that, right? Okay, but for someone like maybe for me, right, I'm not an expert in copywriting, and so when I see the output that comes up from ChatGPT, I may be like, wow, this is amazing. But little did I know that that is not really any good itself. So the way to make sure that when you get output from ChatGPT, it's really, really good. Some of the things that you want to do is, of course, you want to use more detailed prompts, as I told you. But the other way is to use what I call frameworks. Okay, so frameworks here, some of this framework, some of you might be familiar with. So in digital marketing or in communications, for example, sometimes how do you present your case to your bosses? How do you present your idea to your team, for example? Okay, there is a framework, there is a format, there is a structure that you can use that will make people sit up, right? That will make people sit up. So as an example here, if you look at this slide, the example number 2 is PAS, right? Problem, agitate, and solution, right? Problem, agitate, and solution. So this kind of gives you a framework, and with the framework itself, it helps GPT to be able to give you a better output, right? Because if you just tell ChatGPT, or can you write me something about, convincing a group of people to buy my product? You'll be probably able to do a fairly good job, right? But if you ask it, hey, I want you to write using this framework, right? PAS, problem, agitate, solution. Now, ChatGPT is then going to give you the output in this format itself. Okay, so I'd like you to try on your own, right? Right now, try on your own, or at least take note, right? Because now, if you ask ChatGPT to write you an article about, let's say, integrating AI into workflow or AI and productivity, right? It's probably able to do that. Okay. Now, if you get it to write that and you say that use the PAS, right? And it will know what PAS is. Okay. If you say just use the PAS or use the AIDA, right? AIDA, it will be able to do that as well. Okay. And you see the amount of difference in terms of output that you get. Okay. So let me know, any one of you here have used any form of framework within AI itself? Or this, for some of you, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this. If this is the first time you're hearing this, just type in first for me. First for me. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, Nicole has a question. She says that, are you able to type Chinese into ChatGPT? Yes, absolutely. Right. And Nicole, one thing I can tell you is that if your mom has got a phone, and I'm pretty sure she has one, right? If your mom has a phone, what you can do is download the ChatGPT app for her. Okay. Make sure you download for her, because I'm pretty sure if you ask her to download on her own, she might end up downloading the wrong one. Okay, so download the ChatGPT app for her. And what you want to do is that you can actually speak to ChatGPT and it will talk back, right? It will talk back. So, you can just chat with ChatGPT and say, hey, Chat, can you tell me about this? And it will be able to respond to you. It will be able to speak back to you. And yes, it will speak back into you in Chinese, right? So this is something quite amazing itself, all right? Okay. Now, so yes, Nicole, yes, they understand. Some of these frameworks are well documented. This framework are very frequently used in digital marketing, in communication. So definitely ChatGPT knows many of this framework. Of course, if you put in things like ERP or CTE, maybe you will not know what on earth those are, right? But yes, anything to do with things that are documented, framework that you read on books and all that, you will be able to see this. Okay, so amazing. Many of you here, first time looking at how you can use framework. So friends, you can use different sort of framework to kind of use with ChatGPT, and you will be amazed by the amount of output, the type of output that it will come in. Right. So can you use the PAS, right? Problem begin by clearly stating a common problem. You can prompt it even more, right? You can write all this thing down, or you can just say, write me, an article on AI for older folks, right? Or AI for senior citizens. Okay, and then you can say that, well, use the PAS framework to write this article itself, and it will be able to do that. Okay, try that out. It's really, really amazing. Well, you're most welcome, Nicole. Okay, so this is something that you can do with regards to prompt. Okay, so you can say that, can you use this framework and then craft a short LinkedIn post to target professionals face the challenge of overwhelming AI tools options, right, in the market itself. Okay, so that's something that you can do. And this is what, ChatGPT comes out with, right? Using the PAS framework. See, I told you, ChatGPT knows PAS. Okay, and so who says Singaporean are the only one who knows acronym, right? Who use acronym all the time. Okay, so see, it says that, okay, first, it talks about the problem, and then it talks about, what, if you don't do that, what's going to happen? And then finally, it talks about the solution itself. Okay. Yes, you can get ChatGPT to speak. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so if you download the app, you look at the icon. The icon is a headphone icon. Look at that icon itself, right? Just tap on it and you can speak to it and it will speak back right at you. Okay, so you can use Malay, you can use Tamil, you can use Japanese, you can use Thai, you could use Chinese, you could Bengali, whatever, right? The only thing that it still cannot do right now is it cannot speak dialect. Okay, the day that it can, my dad would be so happy. Okay, because he prefers to right? So that's something that they will do. Okay, now, so now that you have an idea, like okay, when it comes to prompt, right? Um, um, you want to use specific prompts, okay? And when it comes to the output itself, right? You say that well, I don't want you to just give me from your training data some random thing, you know. What I want you to do is I want you to give it to me in a proper framework itself, right? And that's where you are able to, you are able to get it to give you better output. Okay. Now, yeah, Nicole. Sometimes AI these days is still not very stable. I mean, just the other day, just between you and me, the other day I was doing a training and I was supposed to show the participants something in real time, and ChatGPT just refused to do the work. And it was embarrassing, but yeah, this is how ChatGPT is, or this is how AI is. All right, Mong San, you're more than welcome. Okay, so the last bit I want to share with you here is about navigating biases. So what do we mean by that? Now, you need to understand that the AI tool itself is actually trained with a certain set of data. Now, this data are largely coming from the Western culture itself, right? It's coming from the Western culture. Okay, so if you try this out, you get it to write a campaign, a marketing campaign, right? You ask it to write a marketing campaign, and you tell it to give you some write up and some strategies. For example, what you're gonna see happen is the following. You're gonna see that the strategies that come out is going to be a little bit Americanized. Okay, how do you know that it's Americanized? Well, you know because in America, a very simple way is in America, they are very strong or very adamant about individualism, right? It's me, it's my rights. Okay, I have the rights to not wear a mask, and you can't tell me to do so, right? COVID has shown that, right? But over here in this part of the world, we have a more collectivism type of a culture. In other words, the kind of things that we do, we kind of think about, the community that we are in, and how is it going to impact our people itself. So if you are just going to take the output coming from ChatGPT and run with it, you might run into some issues, particularly if it's to do with something that's culturally different. So especially when something is culturally sensitive, that's where you really want to make sure that you are on top of that. So how do you do that? Now, this one is something that I've been teaching for many years, right? Um, yeah, let's create one that sells to the Westerners, right? Because they need to know us, and they, look, these days is us Asians that have the money. All right, yeah. So there is this a framework that I've been teaching for some time. So this framework is something that I teach to a multinational, right? So this multinational has got teams all over the world, and sometimes they find out that, some teams, the way that they do their work or the way that they speak is very different from another side. So as an example, right? As an example, and this is purely from my experience itself. So there is this group of people. Some of them are from Australia, some of them from India, and then from China, as well as Malaysia, Philippines, for example, right? And what they notice is that the folks from China, the folks from Asia, right? The typically the more Chinese, right? We tend to be a bit more quiet during meetings itself, right? But the folks from Australia and the folks from India, they would just keep talking, or they would just tell you what they think and all that, right? And sometimes we feel really uncomfortable, but we're not quite sure how to handle that. And so we teach them this 6 dimensions. And with this 6 dimensions itself, you kind of understand how do you actually interact, or how do you convey your message in such a way that would be, that would be palatable, right? That will be in line with their culture itself. So these are the 6 factors. Right? So really, I'd like you to, if not take a screenshot, but if not really take this down, because this cultural dimensions is something that you would need to know, and you want to use this to kind of evaluate ChatGPT's output. Okay, so one way that you can do this is following, right? Prompt using Hofstede cultural dimensions. So what you want to say is that you're tasked with analyzing the cultural biases in AI-generated content using Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to examine a set of responses from ChatGPT across different cultural scenario, focusing on these 3 areas. Okay, identify instances where the content may not align with Singapore cultural norms. All right, and then suggest adjustments to the responses. So the background to this is that you have an output that comes out from ChatGPT, and you're not quite sure if hey, is it aligned to our Singapore cultural norm or not, huh? So what you want to do is you want to run through a series of checks, right, using this prompt itself. So you give it a framework, and you tell it to check against this, and this, right? And then finally you ask it to identify where it is not aligned to our culture, and then give you suggestions, right, on how to make those changes itself. Okay, and you'll be surprised by what ChatGPT can produce. And so this is the output from ChatGPT. It's saying that, well, in terms of power distance, and all that, I kind of leave you to read on your own, right? Power distance, what it means. So the original post encouraged decision making and innovation without highlighting hierarchical approval. But over here, we are pretty much, right? So those are the kind of differences that, if you're not aware of it, if you just read it this way, you just get the output from ChatGPT, you might have a shock. Okay, so those are some output itself. So if you have stayed until here, thank you so much for being here itself. And this is that little something that I have for you, right? So this is our own company's tool. So it's a hyper-personalized chatbot itself. What you can do is that, I'm going to give you early access to this tool if you're interested. So what you can do is, once you sign up, I will show you how you can do that, right? And this is absolutely free. So right now, what something that you see here is, like, for example, if you can see that AI and innovation, that's all I need to type in. So I don't have to type in like, lengthy prompt itself. All I need to type in is just AI and innovation. And the chatbot is able to give me all this information from a database itself. Right. So if this is something that excites you, if you want to create your own chatbot, right, whether it's for work or for personal, then what you want to do is you want to scan this QR code. All right. So go ahead, scan this QR code, and you will be taken to a website whereby it will ask you for your name, your email address, and what you want to build that chatbot for. Okay. So your name, your email address, and no, I'm not asking you for your phone number. Don't worry. All right. And what you want to build that chatbot for. Okay. I'm also dropping the link in the chat. So for those of you who missed that, you can definitely take a look at that. So if you like to build your own hyper-personalized chatbot for free and with my guidance, please go ahead and scan this QR code. Just give me your name, your email address, and what you want to build. And I will send you an early access to this chatbot itself. Okay. So now with that, towards the end of this, what I'd like to say is that, AI, it's not an expert yet. You are the expert, right? You are the expert because the amount of cognitive manipulations that we human can do, it's far greater than any AI tool right now, at least what is available. Okay, so always remember that AI is an IA. And what is an IA? It's just an intelligent assistant, right? You are the human, you are the one who is going to dictate and going to guide AI to the way that you want it to go. All right. So always remember that, because if not, if you think that, oh, I don't need to think already, I just let ChatGPT do all the thinking for me, then we are going to be in trouble. Okay. So hopefully with all that I have shared with you here today, using the three modifiers, using the framework and checking for biases, if you are able to do this three things, I'm sure you will be able to get ChatGPT to do way more for you. All right. So if you have, learned something useful, something interesting, something that you have not heard of when searching YouTube or whatever, just type into the chat and say good. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, so before we go, right, just so that you know, this are my contact details. So yeah, I'm just broadcasting to everyone. This is my contact detail, and this is what my company does. So my company, Bifinity Media, Bifinity AI, what we do is that we help companies in this three aspect, right? So we empower. That means we teach people how to use AI properly. We also go into companies to teach them how to implement AI as well, right? And for some organizations, we even work with them to develop customized tools for them. All right. So if you want to learn more about AI and ChatGPT, for example, ASK Training, whom I'm partnering with in this webinar itself, they offer a full suite of different programs, right? And some of the programs you can get up to 95 funding and even job placement programs. Okay, I've known the owners of ASK for a long time. They're good people, they're friendly people. So make sure you ask ASK. All right. Okay, so make sure you take a screenshot of this. They have three branches, and so all these three branches are easily accessible via MRT, right? And so make sure you check it out because they run some really good courses, and like I said, they are really, really nice people. Okay. Now, lastly, we thank you for attending today's webinar. And if you like a copy of the slide, please, go to this link to fill in the form itself. Or I believe you could scan the QR code as well, right? And so with ASK, I have a training program that is called Mastering ChatGPT for Strategic Communication. So that's something that you can learn, right? The other thing is that there is something in the works with regards to AI and WSQ. So we can't talk much at this point in time, but we are looking at something in that respect itself. So if you want to be trained personally by me, please send Amanda or go to this link itself. Give us your details, and we'll be in touch with you. All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Jeremy. All right. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Melvin, for this very insightful sharing today. I really learned a lot from this. And I think I'm looking at the chat and our participants are very excited as well. I'm noting that there are some questions still, especially regarding Bifinity. So if you'd like, I also like to invite Melvin to reply directly within the chat. But meanwhile, So please do allow me to also share a little bit about how you can learn further with NLB. So first of all, if you do not already have the NLB mobile app, do check it out and do download it from your App Store or the Google Play Store. The NLB mobile app is a gateway into lots of resources, such as ebooks, e-magazines, and all kinds of different e-resources and programs like the one you're joining us with today. So we do have a couple of book recommendations. So particularly pertinent to today's program, if you're interested in leveraging chatbots and generative AI tools, like ChatGPT as it was shared today, do check out this title by Dwayne Anderson on the future of content creation with chatbots and ChatGPT. So I will also be dropping the links into the chat box right now. Okay. Secondly, if maybe you want a little bit more, exploring a little bit more about prompt engineering, ways you can refine your prompts further to get what you want out of these large language models and Gen AI tools, do check out this title by Yan Khan on a quick guide to prompt engineering. It is quite a succinct guide with a lot of hands-on examples, especially if your use cases might be a bit more esoteric and you want a little bit more general skills in prompt engineering. This title is for you. If you want to find out a little bit more about ChatGPT itself, perhaps you are really new to this and you want a very surface level but beginner-friendly introduction, this title is for you. It decodes and breaks down ChatGPT to see how it can help you in various areas of your life. So on the flip side, right, we always talk about using ChatGPT, using generative AI tools. I think even beyond ChatGPT, you can now generate images, soon to be videos, even music nowadays. Here we have a program coming up. So this program is a different kind of angle, focusing on the ethical challenges behind generative AI. So here we look at the value of human creativity among machines and explore issues in AI. So earlier Melvin was sharing about bias, and here we also explore more topics that affect the way that we use generative AI and how we can be a little bit more cognizant of our use. So if you're interested in this, the link is already in the chat box, but you can also scan the QR code on screen. And if you're interested in more similar programs like the ones today, do check out the Future of Work collection, which updates every month with more and more programs. And ASK Training will also be returning with more and more programs coming up in the following months. So do keep a lookout in our Future of Work collection. Very excited to see what else is in store. And of course, if perhaps checking the collections, maybe you want a little bit more guidance from us, do join our mailing list. We will be sending emails when there's cool stuff coming up that maybe you might have missed. So you can just simply leave your email with us. Again, the links are you can actually scan this QR code over here to drop your email with us, and we will update you whenever there are cool stuff coming up in the realms of digital technologies. Okay. And so I think I see a question in the chat. So the recording and the slides, again, please refer to Amanda's link over there, and that's where you can get access to the recording and the slides. Okay, and before you go today, so I would like to trouble everyone to please share your feedback with us. If you enjoyed today's session, shout support to our feedback form. So I'll drop the links into the chat once more, but I would like to trouble everyone to take 2 to 3 minutes to just complete this very quick form today. Okay, so I'll leave this on screen a little bit longer, and then I'll leave this call on a bit longer for those of you who are still going through the survey. But meanwhile, we will be closing the recording for today.